Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Yesterday and the day before we talked a lot about how to make your first 6 figures and even 7 figures in crypto. Today I'm going to be breaking down many of the best cycles of our last bull run and talking about how many of the altcoins today are literally creating the same patterns. You don't have to be a crypto expert or a genius to make a financial fortune in crypto. All that really matters is that you buy at the bottom of the bear market and you sell at a relatively strong point in the bull cycle. It doesn't matter how good your background is in investing, how little your background is. I've seen people go from literally high school dropouts to multi-millions of dollars within their first year of investing. For today's video, I'm going to break down exactly what I'm going to be looking for, certain cycles that are playing out in the exact same ways, and why I believe this cycle is setting up to be so much bigger than the last cycle in every single way imaginable. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so here we are to start off today's video, and today's going to be a great opportunity for the average person to be able to sit, pay attention, and understand the way that cycles work, understand where we're at in the beginning of this cycle, and really helping you guys to shape the perspective of how each and every one of our cycles play out. Now here's the big thing. The reason I wanted to share with you guys this video today is because I have been noticing a lot of the exact same big picture market cycles, a lot of them that I showed you in yesterday's video. Specifically, we talked a little bit about Cardano, we talked a little bit about some of these other altcoins that I was able to make over 100x returns on. And in Cardano, I actually only ended up making 89x returns, but still, the point that I was making was, the only reason I bought that was because it was showing a big market cycle. And the market cycle looked like it was at the bottom of the bear market. So I bought it, I only put $500 to $1,000 in, and I made over 6 figures just off of that one investment. And so I've been wanting to talk to you guys about a lot of this same update because of the fact I see so many of the same altcoins, even though they're new and this is their first bear market or first cycle as a whole, they're making the same patterns that many of those altcoins did in the last bull run right before they ended up taking off 100x. So I wanted to take the opportunity by explaining to you guys what to look for, what I'm personally watching, and how to go about making the most profit off of these setups. Now right off the bat guys, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of Bitcoin, and I'm going to go through and we're going to look at the cycles, and then we're going to jump into some of these altcoins. I wanted to share with you guys 5 altcoins on today's video in hopes of helping you guys to more or less conceptualize everything that I think is about to play out. So right off the bat, guys, this is the general way that you're going to see a market cycle play out, and there's a little bit of a there's a graphic that I always like to look at because in my opinion, there's nothing more accurate than what this shows inside of the crypto markets. So you guys have known that I've shown this a lot of different times on this channel, and it's because I see so many different cryptocurrencies that follow this pattern. They're all going to be different in their own way. The main difference being the impulses are quicker and the declines are quicker. It's much more, I would say, it's much more enhanced by being in crypto due to less liquidity and 24/7 markets. And there's a lot of different factors at play that create massive crypto cycles in comparison to the stock market. But what we see is generally the same rule. We have the beginning of the cycle, we make this big run up, kind of the same thing over here. This leads us to a blow off top. We start the bearish correction back down. This would be this move all the way to here until we eventually hit capitulation, anger, and depression. And this is generally the way a cycle will end. And it's not always going to be perfect, but as a rule of thumb, it's going to behave in kind of a similar way. And we do kind of see a similar sort of thing. The only difference here is we made these 3 lower lows, or 4 I guess, made this first higher high, and then we just kind of built this foundation. And this is kind of the same thing that we notice right here, where once we finish the bottom of the bear market, we make our first impulse. And this is generally the way a cycle is going to play out. Every single bottom, every single impulse, all of the cycle is going to look a little bit different. They can't always be perfect. But what we oftentimes see, I mean, it's not hard to tell that this and this leading into a new cycle is basically the same as this pattern. The only difference is it's just a little bit more volatile. But I mean, we can take this pattern and we can look at literally each and every one of our bull cycles, and we can see that this is the case. And this is what plays out every single time. And so there's no real reason to assume that each cycle is just going to be massively different when up to this point they've all behaved very much the same. Now obviously trends can change, but the thing that we're looking at here isn't so much around time, it's about perspective, right? What we're seeing here is the same universal patterns. run up, blow off top, fully retrace, round out, go sideways, start the new cycle. This is just the universal pattern that we're going to see. Same thing happened here. Run up, bearish correction back down, go sideways for a long time, start the new uptrend. It's the same universal pattern all the way through. And we can look at every one of our cycles and get confirmation of that. The only real difference here, I would say, was our 2019 cycle, where at the bottom after capitulation, we only spent 3 months here before making this big breakout. But, you know, it's not really that different. It's still the same universal thing. We still saw this type of a move inside of the bull cycle. We still saw a steep decline all the way back down. This one kind of held support at the 6K level, but we still saw the same thing. Even though the accumulation was a little bit shorter, it's still the same universal patterns each and every single time we have one of these cycles. And so the reason why I continue to stick and watch for these same things is because up to this point, nothing has realistically changed that much. You know, each and every cycle, like I stated, you're going to have certain things that are different. In this cycle, we didn't have quite the same blow off top as maybe what we did in 2017. But in the bear market, we also didn't consolidate sideways as long as what we did in 2018 either. And now this current cycle, as we're reconsolidating and getting back into the new cycle, in my opinion, this one looks a little bit more closely related than even 2017's bear market did, where we kind of saw the same sort of pattern play out, albeit a little bit different. But I mean, it's still the universal truth. We're seeing this blow off top, whether that's actually some major blow off top or whether it was a little short-lived like this one, we see a blow off top, we make a big bearish correction, and eventually we find a support bottom that marks the bear market low. And that's kind of the same thing here. Eventually, when we find our all-time low, that was here, that was the FTX collapse, we start the new impulse, and that's what's called the disbelief phase. Nobody really thinks it's going to take off, but that's really where the beginning of the cycle always starts, right? Nobody thought that the market was going to take off after COVID, yet that was the exact low before the market took off. So at the beginning of this cycle, everybody's assuming that it's dead. Nobody really thinks it's going to take off again. Everybody, for the most part, the average investor is looking for something like this, right? And so as we're looking at all of this, the reason I'm sharing with you guys this is because whether we're looking at Bitcoin now or whether we're looking at a completely different cycle, we see these same patterns being repeated specifically around these market cycles. So let's go into these altcoins today, and I'm going to share with you guys some exact examples so that you guys are able to actually see what I'm talking about. Alrighty guys, so here we are to start off and talk about my very first comparison, because out of the whole entire market, I don't see a better looking, market cycle, I would say, than what we're seeing with Dogecoin. And a lot of people are going to come out and say, oh, you're an idiot. You're actually believing that Dogecoin's going to take off and it's going to have a new cycle. And yeah, I'm going to say definitely. And to be honest, anybody that doesn't think that is kind of silly, because regardless of what Dogecoin started out as, regardless of the zero use case it had forever and ever and ever, at this point there is a use case. You have Elon Musk that's already rebranded Twitter to X. He's ultimately approved. Well, they've already got a banking license approved. So their whole plan is to make Twitter WeChat, which is the Chinese social media that they use. And they have all of it, all encompassed. So for example, if you were to get on Facebook, there's a marketplace on Facebook. I can buy, sell, and trade things. Well, that's the goal of what he wants Twitter or X to become as well. He wants it to be a banking app. He wants it to be a financial app. He wants it to be a trading app, but then also social media and everything that it already was. And that is ultimately going to see a lot of value. And the reason why I bring Dogecoin into this is because Elon Musk has already said that he plans to make Dogecoin the currency of X or Twitter. So I really do believe he's going to pump it again. I don't see why he wouldn't. And up to this point, we're seeing a perfect market cycle that is also telling me this thing is being heavily accumulated one way or another. Dogecoin has always been a game controlled by whales, and now I think more so than ever, there's a use case for Dogecoin. And you're not going to see the same 100x plus returns in this cycle compared to last cycle, but I will say that there is still a very real potential where, just by buying now and holding to the all-time highs, that's still 8.5x. So, you're still getting a huge opportunity. And I would consider at this point Dogecoin a safe bet. When we're looking at things that are going to be a safer investment, we want something that has been able to prove itself throughout multiple bear markets. And Dogecoin's one of the oldest cryptos out there. And it's actually done massively better than almost all of the altcoins as a whole. So when we're talking about safe investments, Normally, I would never consider Dogecoin a safe investment, but the reason I do believe it is because Elon Musk is ultimately going to bridge Dogecoin into Twitter and X, one and the same now, and that's where I see a lot of value going in. But what we see here, guys, is almost the exact same setup as what we saw in 2015 Bitcoin, and that's why I'm making this comparison. This was the blow off top in our last cycle for Dogecoin, peaked summer of 2021, and then we started this long-term bear market. Now, inside of the 2013 and 14 blow off top for Bitcoin, we saw the same exact setup where we make our first breakout into new all-time highs, kind of consolidate, and then this is the build-up for our real blow-off top. This was the same thing when Elon first started pumping Dogecoin, and then he really started pumping it here, leading into the blow-off top, and this is really where he went on to Saturday Night Live and finished the whole blow-off top, right? So after that, we see the exact same type of setup on the way down. It's almost the exact same all the way through. Not only is this and this the same, not only is the blow off top the same, but then the correction on the way back down is similar too, where this is something I've seen across the board on many different cryptos, where they'll make the blow off top, they'll make this big sell off, and they will find a short-term support. But keep in mind that this is the exact same setup as what Bitcoin did in 2015 for the most part. It kind of looks exactly the same, this weird descending triangle type setup leading in to the second that we actually break below this. That sets us up for our final capitulation. And the same thing happened here for Bitcoin. So we see the same emotions playing out each and every cycle. And the reason the patterns stay the same is because, once again, it's the same humans and the same emotions that are dictating the direction that the markets move. And with crypto specifically, in crypto, there's never been enough liquidity to have big money playing the game with us until, last cycle, basically. And I'd say at the peak of 2017, beginning of 2018, that was the first time we had enough money for a corporation to jump in. And we did see that. We saw some rich people, some big whales in the normal market and economy get in. But it wasn't until the last cycle that we started to see, PayPal, Robinhood, Webull, all of these different big, trading and investment type companies, they started to actually bridge over to crypto. So it wasn't really until the last cycle that we had enough liquidity for big money to step in. And so I don't believe that this is over. I believe that we have one more true monumental bull run left. And from there, I really don't know if we have more. We're at a point where I believe that crypto is nearing ultimate adoption. I mean, we're not there yet, obviously, but I do believe we're very, very close. And when the BlackRock ETF gets approved, I just don't see that there's anything left for Bitcoin. Because once an ETF gets approved, that ultimately means that they can start paper trading Bitcoin. And if you have any idea of the history of ETFs and how they've been able to manipulate markets, you'll understand that paper trading for Bitcoin is not good. Because theoretically, if there's enough buyers and sellers, you can kind of just create as many Bitcoins as you want because it's all paper, right? So in a way, so at the end of the day, it's going to be the way that they control Bitcoin, in my opinion. So I don't look at the ETF as a long-term bullish thing. I look at it as a short-term bullish thing that'll probably create a new bull run for us. But, after that bull run, I don't know what happens. I don't know if they're going to be able to put a damper on these or if there's enough liquidity into the market where we don't see the same type of massive, blow off top bull runs like we've been accustomed to. I don't know. But what I can say is in the short term time frame right now, we are seeing a lot of the same we're seeing a lot of the same cycles playing out, and in my opinion, they're going to create another massive bull run. And with Dogecoin, look at this, guys. For Bitcoin, at the very bottom of this consolidation, Bitcoin spent 280 days. Bitcoin spent about 280 days in this bottom before it broke out. So 279 days. Dogecoin has been inside of this bottom for probably at least 100 days longer than that. So this one is almost double at this point. We're sitting here inside of this consolidation. So guys, if the pattern looks the same, I don't see why it's not going to continue to play out in the same way. We saw in this cycle, I would imagine that we saw probably an 84 to an 85% correction from the high to the low. Yeah, about 85 to 86. And for Dogecoin, I would argue that that was a little bit bigger because of what was going on. Yeah, about 92%. But regardless, we're seeing a lot of the same similarities, right? I mean, 85, 93%, same symmetry on the way down and the way up, same type of bottom consolidation. And not only that, but I mean, Dogecoin has survived the FTX collapse and multiple different attacks, and we still have maintained support. So I don't see what is giving anybody any inclination that this is bearish by any means. And guys, if we look at what happened, once we bottomed at this green, where did Bitcoin go in 2017? It had one of the biggest bull runs that we ever saw, right? And that was that move here. So assuming that patterns will repeat again, like I think that they will, in the same way I've made so much money buying this exact setup, guys. I literally cannot stress enough. I just shared with you guys the Cardano video yesterday, or the day before, whatever it was. I talked about Cardano, and I shared with you guys why I bought this. It's because it was just a big market cycle. All I did was buy it at 3.5 cents. Right over here I said, well, that looks like it's retesting the bottom of a cycle. My guess is it holds support. I'm just going to buy this and hold. If it breaks out and goes crazy, great. If it doesn't, it's a small investment, I'm okay. Well, obviously we know what happened. And so when we're looking at these same setups again, why are you underestimating this? Especially when Dogecoin, one of the highest cap cryptos, a meme coin at that, is looking like an 8.5x just to the all-time highs, not assuming that this thing probably goes to a few bucks, I would guess. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing peaked at $5 in this next cycle. I mean, if we're talking where Bitcoin peaked and how small the last cycle was, technically Dogecoin could go even higher than that. We don't know. And I'm not trying to say that it's going to go to this price or that price. I am saying that I do believe it will go into new all-time highs. I don't know what those are going to be, and that's why I always say I'm scaling out based off time, and that's it. But you guys can see my point. We're seeing the same stuff playing out again, and so the only person that's going to screw this up is you. I mean, all you have to do is buy and hold at this point. It's literally that simple. Yet the problem is most people are only willing to buy once the market's going up. So if you're sitting here, if you're watching this channel, chances are you're already interested and you're already buying, you've been buying, and you're good. I don't even need to talk to you. It's the people that, aren't probably watching this channel that are going to be waiting until these things start really breaking out before they start jumping back in again. We're probably going to have to see Dogecoin running up to 36 cents, flipping this, and then even going up again before people start buying it. It's going to be a little while, but it's the people here, you, I, the ones that are buying right now at these range lows. We don't have to worry about the highs and the lows. We bought the low. We're just focused on the high 2.5 years from now, right? And that's so much easier to play the game than to try and get in late and not have any clue where we're at and then just try and buy and FOMO into it. It just doesn't work, right? Now, another one I want to talk to you guys about today is going to be Solana, because Solana was one that has gotten completely crapped on in the bear market. A lot of FUD around FTX. Everybody knows the FTX. All Bitcoin reserves that were deposited on FTX were sold and put into Solana. So they were net short Bitcoin, net long Solana, technically. So we saw one of the biggest bull runs out of any altcoin, and that was actually Solana in the last cycle. Now, I wanted to share with you guys this one because, to me, this is the same setup as basically ETH in the last cycle. And, we can always look at different comparisons, and we can do different things like that. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm just trying to help you guys understand the perspective. Nothing's ever going to be 100% the same, but we do see a lot of the same similarities and patterns repeat. And I think you guys are going to be able to see that here. So this consolidation, blow off top, correction, first lower high, takes us into this weird thing. It's basically the same as there. Final capitulation. So I don't know exactly what the bottom is going to look like, because the way Solana looks, it looks like it's going to break out. It's going to do something like this and potentially even run all the way up to 78 and maybe $142 depending on what Bitcoin does. So the bottom consolidation, I don't really think it's going to be the same as ETH, where, obviously ETH just went sideways for like 2.5 years or so. I don't remember the exact time. From the bottom to the point of us breaking out. Well, I should say from the bottom to the point of us flipping the high was like 600 days. So I don't foresee the scenario where, it is a possibility, I do see a scenario, but I would say I don't necessarily think that this is the same bottom formation that we are going to see in this cycle. And that's kind of the way cycles are going to be different, right? We know that the bull run for Solana looked very much the same. Symmetrically, it's the same pattern all the way through. Even on the bearish side, all the way down to capitulation, it's a lot of the same exact patterns. The only difference here is once the bull cycle starts, we do get differences. I mean, if Bitcoin goes straight to 50K in its first leg up to begin the new cycle, I'm not anticipating that these altcoins are just going to go sideways, although it is possible. Because Bitcoin, keep in mind, went all the way up to the 618 in this move, and altcoins just made this tiny little lower high, right? So we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but what I'm trying to share with you guys is how all these cycles, all these cryptos of new and old are just making the same patterns. And so we don't need to overcomplicate things by just trying to get in our own ways. What we're looking at here is a generational bottom. I mean, we can just buy right now across the board on literally almost any altcoin, and if we hold for 2.5 years, we're going to be looking at significant profit. There's always going to be altcoins that don't move in the ways that we think. But certain altcoins like Solana, ones that do have a use case, people building on them, and a community that supports them, those are the ones you want to go into. You can always go into the risks, the ones that are what ifs, unknowns, maybe something in a bull cycle, and that's where you're going to make the 100x, 1000x opportunities. But if you're looking for a safer pick, I mean, guys, Solana right today, from where we're at currently, just to the all-time highs is almost a 10x. So we're looking at a lot of these high cap cryptos that are already really, highly valued in comparison with the rest of the market. And you're already looking like you could make a 10x just by buying and holding to the all-time highs. So assuming that these make a brand new cycle, like what we saw some of the other altcoins do in the last cycle, you're going to be sitting pretty regardless of what you've invested. It's just the way crypto works. And so this is one that I'm also watching. Now, another one is Link. Now, I really love Link. Been holding it forever and ever. Been one of my top cryptos the whole time I've been making YouTube videos. And this is one that's finally leaving its accumulation range as well. We can see that Chainlink has sat here accumulating on this support range, going sideways in the tiniest little range for so long. We'll get an exact price or a tool. 443 days we've been in this range. But I mean, here's the thing, guys. Once again, we have to look at these in comparison to some of the prior cycles. And I like to compare other altcoins of today with altcoins like Ethereum, because Ethereum was the leader, right? And what Ethereum did in its last cycle, I like to compare because we do see a lot of similarities to draw today. It's a lot of the same conclusions, right? Now, what I see between these two, with ETH, from the bottom to the secondary capitulation was 457 days. We kind of did the same thing right over here, and this one was about 400 days. So we still see almost the exact same time in between. And I do believe that we're now at the point where all of these altcoins that have kind of just sat here and accumulated, they're getting ready to break out. They are going to break out, and they've already broken all descending resistance, right? This was our major descending resistance. We've already broken from that. We trended sideways. We had an attempt at a breakdown of support. That was a false breakdown, a bear trap. And now we're breaking back out. So my guess is once this turns into support, whether that's now or a week from now, I think that this thing's going to run up pretty hard to 18 bucks and has a very real potential of running upwards of 29 and even $38 depending on what Bitcoin does. You guys know I've personally believed that Bitcoin is going to be rallying upwards of 40 and 50K before this move is done. Something like that, right? And then after that, we will see a longer term correction. So when Bitcoin makes this move, I don't know how high these altcoins are going to go, right? Link, and in the same way many altcoins lag the beginning impulse for Bitcoin, I won't be surprised if Link doesn't come all the way back up to 30 bucks or so. I won't be surprised if it only goes to $18 and then pulls back. I'm not expecting altcoins to make as big of a breakout as Bitcoin. And that's across the board. Solana, the same thing. If Bitcoin goes to 50K, Solana would basically be targeted of going to $143. Is that likely? And I would say no, just because of the fact altcoins generally don't make as big of a breakout to begin the new cycle. So I don't think that they're going to. And that's just my opinion. So anyways, guys, I wanted to give you guys this video as a way to talk about what we're seeing. We are seeing the same setups, and I would argue this cycle is going to be more bullish. I've stuck to that analysis. I'm going to continue to pound that in your guys' heads. So if you guys did find value in this, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. I've shared with you guys a bunch of cycles. I want to hear if you guys have also found different cycles that you can make the same comparisons that I've drawn today. Or, I want to hear any of your guys' thoughts. Even if you disagree with what I said, I want to know why you disagree. And, ultimately, we can share and bounce ideas back and forth because that's the goal, is learning on this channel. So if you guys did find value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. If you guys want to join the Discord server and see the trades that I post, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up. Thank you guys so much for the support. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.